The year was 2247. Life on Earth had been peaceful for centuries, with humanity united under a global government and making great strides in science, technology, and space exploration. That all changed when the alien mothership appeared in the skies above New York City. The colossal vessel, a sleek behemoth of shimmering alloys and pulsing lights, hovered ominously over the sprawling metropolis. In a matter of seconds, a searing beam of energy erupted from the ship, vaporizing a significant portion of Manhattan and sending shockwaves rippling across the globe. As the world reeled in horror, a message boomed out from the alien craft, translated into every language on Earth. People of Earth, we are the Zorthax. Your planet now belongs to us. Surrender unconditionally or face annihilation. Panic and chaos gripped the nations of the world. Some leaders, terrified of further destruction, called for immediate capitulation. Others, defiant in the face of the alien threat, rallied their people to resist. In the halls of the global parliament, a fierce debate erupted as politicians argued over the best course of action. Amidst the turmoil, a team of scientists working at a secret research facility made a startling discovery. While analyzing the alien transmission, they uncovered a hidden message embedded within the signal, a message that would change the course of human history. Dr. Lena Vasari, the brilliant xenolinguist leading the team, worked tirelessly to decipher the cryptic alien language. What she found was both shocking and exhilarating. The hidden message contained detailed schematics for advanced technology, far beyond anything humanity had ever seen. As the implications of this discovery sank in, Dr. Vasari realized that the Zorthax had unwittingly given humanity a fighting chance. The advanced technology, if properly adapted and implemented, could level the playing field against the alien invaders. With renewed hope, Dr. Vasari raced to bring her findings to the attention of world leaders. In a secure meeting room deep beneath the global parliament building, she presented her team's discovery to a group of stunned politicians and military officials. Among them was Admiral Jenna Hawkins, a decorated war hero with a reputation for unorthodox tactics and a keen strategic mind. As Dr. Vasari explained the potential of the alien technology, Admiral Hawkins' eyes gleamed with determination. "This is it," she declared, her voice ringing with conviction. "This is our chance to fight back. We must act now before the Zorthax realize their mistake and come for us in full force." The room erupted into a chorus of arguments and counterarguments, but Admiral Hawkins silenced them with a sharp gesture. "We have been given a gift," she said, her gaze sweeping across the assembled leaders. "A gift that could save our species from extinction. We must seize this opportunity, unite as one people, and show these alien bastards what humanity is capable of." As the leaders debated and deliberated, Dr. Vasari knew that time was running out. The Zorthax would not remain idle forever. Humanity needed to act fast if they were to have any hope of survival. In that moment, as fear and hope warred within the hearts of every human on Earth, the stage was set for a conflict that would determine the fate of not just one planet, but the entire galaxy. The people of Earth stood on the precipice of their greatest challenge yet, and their greatest opportunity. With bated breath, the world watched as Admiral Hawkins and Dr. Vasari emerged from the meeting room, their faces etched with grim determination. They had a plan, a desperate gambit that could turn the tide against the Zorthax. But would it be enough? Only time would tell as humanity prepared to fight for its very existence in the face of an implacable alien foe. In the wake of the Zorthax ultimatum, the Global Defense Force scrambled to mobilize against the alien threat. At the helm of this desperate effort was Admiral Jenna Hawkins, a brilliant strategist with a checkered past. Hawkins had once been the rising star of the global fleet, until a disastrous mission left her ship destroyed and her crew dead. Blamed for the catastrophe and stripped of her rank, Hawkins had been relegated to a desk job, her talents wasted on bureaucratic red tape. But now, with the fate of humanity hanging in the balance, the global parliament had no choice but to turn to Hawkins once again. Reinstated and given command of Earth's meager defense forces, Hawkins set about assembling a team of unlikely heroes to stand against the Zorthax. Her first recruit was Dr. Lena Vasari, the xenolinguist who had uncovered the hidden alien message. Vasari's expertise would be crucial in unlocking the secrets of the Zorthax technology and finding ways to adapt it for human use. Next came Grayson Voss, a brilliant but eccentric engineer with a knack for unorthodox solutions. Voss had been working on a top-secret project to develop a new type of propulsion system based on alien tech salvaged from a crashed UFO. His prototype, though untested, could be the key to giving Earth's ships a fighting chance against the Zorthax. Rounding out the team were a trio of misfits and outcasts. Jax, a hot-headed fighter pilot with a grudge against the aliens. Zara, a hacker with a talent for infiltrating even the most secure systems. And Kai, a mysterious ex-Zorthax soldier who had defected to the human side. As Hawkins and her team raced to prepare for the coming invasion, tensions ran high. Jax and Kai clashed repeatedly, their mutual distrust threatening to tear the group apart. Zara, meanwhile, struggled to crack the Zorthax encryption codes, her frustration mounting with each failed attempt. But Hawkins refused to let her team fall apart. With a combination of tough love and shrewd leadership, she brought them together, forging them into a cohesive unit. Under her guidance, they began to make progress, adapting the alien tech to create new weapons and defenses for Earth's forces. As the days ticked by and the Zorthax fleet drew closer, Hawkins knew that time was running out. She pushed her team harder, driving them to the brink of exhaustion in their race against the clock. Finally, with mere hours to spare, they achieved a breakthrough. Vasari and Voss had successfully integrated the alien propulsion system into a squadron of Earth's fighters, giving them a crucial speed and maneuverability advantage. Zara had cracked the Zorthax codes, allowing human ships to penetrate their sensor nets undetected, and Kai had provided invaluable intel on the aliens' tactics and weaknesses. As the Zorthax fleet entered Earth's solar system, Hawkins and her team were ready. In a daring gambit, they launched a preemptive strike against the alien vanguard, catching the Zorthax off guard and dealing them a stunning blow. But even as they celebrated their initial victory, Hawkins knew that the real battle was just beginning. The bulk of the Zorthax armada was still on its way, and Earth's forces were hopelessly outnumbered and outgunned. Yet in that moment, as she looked out at her teammates, this ragtag group of misfits and geniuses who had come together to defend their home, Hawkins felt a flicker of hope. They might be underdogs, but they were Earth's underdogs, and they would fight to their last breath to protect their planet and their people. As the first wave of Zorthax ships appeared on the horizon, Hawkins gave the order to engage. The battle for Earth had begun, and the fate of humanity rested on the shoulders of this unlikely band of heroes. Against all odds, they would stand tall and show the galaxy what humankind was truly made of. As the battle raged in the skies above Earth, another conflict was unfolding in the shadows. This was a war of wits and strategy, played out across the stars between two masters of the craft, Admiral Jenna Hawkins and the Zorthax Emperor Zorkos. Zorkos was a legend among his people, a brilliant tactician who had led the Zorthax to countless victories across the galaxy. He had studied the art of war for centuries, honing his mind into a weapon as sharp and deadly as any blade. When the Zorthax had first arrived in Earth's solar system, Zorkos had been intrigued by the humans' defiance. He had expected them to cower and surrender, like so many other species before them. But instead, they had fought back, led by the indomitable Admiral Hawkins. As the two fleets clashed in the void of space, Zorkos found himself drawn into a deadly game of cat and mouse with Hawkins. She was a worthy opponent, her unorthodox tactics and bold stratagems keeping him constantly on his toes. Through intercepted transmissions and spy drones, they studied each other's moves, trying to anticipate the next attack, the next feint, the next gambit. It was a dance of death and destruction, played out on a chessboard of stars and planets. Even as they fought to outmaneuver each other, Zorkos and Hawkins began to develop a grudging respect for one another. They were two sides of the same coin, driven by a relentless desire to protect their people and achieve victory at any cost. But while Zorkos and Hawkins waged their silent war, another battle was being fought on the ground. A covert human strike team, led by the enigmatic operative known only as Ghost, had infiltrated a key Zorthax command post on the moon of Europa. Their mission was to sabotage the alien sensor array, blinding the Zorthax fleet and giving Earth's forces a crucial advantage. But as they made their way through the labyrinthine corridors of the command post, Ghost and his team discovered something far more sinister. In a hidden chamber deep within the facility, they found a massive device of alien design, pulsing with malevolent energy. It was a doomsday weapon, capable of unleashing a devastating electromagnetic pulse that would fry every electronic device on Earth, rendering the planet defenseless. Ghost realized with mounting horror that this had been the Zorthax plan all along. The invasion, the fleet, the battle in space. It had all been a diversion, a smokescreen to keep Earth's forces occupied while the real threat was put into place. With time running out, Ghost made a fateful decision. He would stay behind, sacrificing himself to destroy the device and save his planet. As his team made their escape, Ghost set the charges and prepared to meet his fate. In the final moments before the device detonated, Ghost sent a message to Admiral Hawkins, warning her of the Zorthax trap. Hawkins, realizing the true scope of the danger, ordered an immediate retreat, pulling her ships back from the brink of destruction just as the EMP weapon exploded. The blast lit up the night sky, a searing flash of light that could be seen from Earth's surface. In its wake, the Zorthax fleet lay crippled, their systems fried by the electromagnetic pulse. But even as Earth's forces celebrated their narrow escape, Admiral Hawkins knew that the game was far from over. Zorkos, though beaten for now, would not rest until he had achieved total victory. And with the revelation of the Zorthax's true intentions, the stakes had just become even higher. As she stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the wreckage of the alien fleet drift through space, Hawkins steeled herself for the battles to come. She had lost a friend and ally in Ghost, but his sacrifice would not be in vain. Earth would fight on, no matter the cost, until the Zorthax menace was ended once and for all. In the aftermath of the battle on Europa, a sense of unease gripped humanity. The revelations of the Zorthax doomsday weapon had shaken the people's faith in their ability to win this war. Desperate for answers, the global parliament authorized a daring mission to the ruins of an ancient alien civilization on Mars. Dr. Lena Vasari had long suspected that the Red Planet held secrets that could shed light on the origins of both humanity and the Zorthax. She believed that the two species were connected, their fates intertwined by a shared history that had been lost to the mists of time. Leading a team of scientists and soldiers, Dr. Vasari braved the hostile Martian environment to explore the crumbling remains of a once great city. Among the ruins, they found something that would change the course of the war and of human history. In a vast underground chamber, the team discovered a cache of artifacts and data archives left behind by the ancient aliens. As they pored over the information, a shocking truth began to emerge. The data revealed that humans and Zorthax were not just connected, but were in fact the same species, diverged by the passage of time and the vastness of space. Eons ago, a great cataclysm had forced the ancient civilization to flee their homeworld, scattering them across the stars. Some had found refuge on Earth, where they had gradually evolved into modern humans. Others had settled on the Zorthax homeworld, developing along a different path to become the ruthless conquerors now threatening humanity's existence. This revelation sent shockwaves through both civilizations. For the Zorthax, it was a bitter pill to swallow. The idea that the beings they had considered inferior were in fact their own kin. For humanity, it was a glimmer of hope, a chance to find common ground with their enemy and end the war before it consumed them all. But not all were willing to accept this truth. Factions on both sides saw the revelation as a threat to their power and way of life. They clung to their hatred and mistrust, determined to fight on no matter the cost. Amidst this turmoil, a glimmer of hope emerged. A splinter faction of Zorthak's rebels, led by a visionary named Zora, reached out to Admiral Hawkins, offering an alliance. They had long opposed the tyrannical rule of Emperors Orcs and saw in humanity a chance to forge a new path. But trust was a fragile thing, and many on both sides were suspicious of this sudden olive branch. Was it a genuine offer of peace or a ruse designed to divide and conquer? As Hawkins grappled with this dilemma, she found herself drawn to Zora, a kindred spirit who shared her desire for an end to the bloodshed. In secret meetings and encrypted communications, they began to forge a bond, working together to find a way to bridge the gap between their peoples. But the path to peace was fraught with danger. As word of the alliance spread, hardliners on both sides mobilized to sabotage it. Assassins stalked the shadows, targeting key figures in the rebel movement. Conspiracies and counter-conspiracies swirled, threatening to unravel the fragile threads of trust. Through it all, Hawkins and Zora fought on, determined to see their vision of a united future realized. They knew that they were risking everything: their lives, their reputations, even the fate of their respective species, but they also knew that the alternative was too terrible to contemplate. As the war raged on and the death toll mounted, the question hung in the balance. Could two species, divided by generations of conflict and mistrust, find a way to come together? Or were they doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past, locked in an endless cycle of hatred and destruction? Only time would tell, as Hawkins and Zora raced against the clock to forge an alliance that could save both their peoples and the future of the galaxy itself. As the tenuous alliance between the human resistance and the Zorthak's rebels took shape, a new threat emerged from within. A series of devastating attacks on key Earth installations had left Hawkins and her team reeling, struggling to understand how the enemy could have struck so deep into their territory. The answer came from an unlikely source: a Zorthak's defector named Rax, who had once served as a high-ranking intelligence officer in Emperor Zorko's inner circle. Rax revealed that the attacks were the work of a human traitor, a mole who had been carefully planted within the Earth Defense Alliance years ago. The traitor's identity sent shockwaves through the resistance leadership. It was none other than Dr. Elias Vaughn, the brilliant scientist who had been instrumental in adapting Zorthak's technology for human use. Vaughn, it seemed, had been secretly working for the enemy all along, sabotaging Earth's defenses from within. But even as the truth came to light, Hawkins saw an opportunity. If they could turn Vaughn, use him to feed false information back to the Zorthaks, they could gain a crucial advantage in the war. It was a risky gambit, but one that could change the course of the conflict. With Rax's help, Hawkins set a trap for Vaughn, luring him into a meeting under the guise of discussing a new weapons project. But when the moment came to confront him, Vaughn revealed his true colors, triggering a hidden explosives cache that nearly killed Hawkins and her team. In the chaos that followed, Vaughn escaped, fleeing to a secret Zorthak's base, hidden in the asteroid belt. But Hawkins was not about to let him slip away so easily. With a hand-picked strike team, she set out in pursuit, determined to bring the traitor to justice. The mission was a grueling one, a deadly game of cat and mouse played out among the tumbling rocks and icy debris of the asteroid field. Vaughn, it seemed, had been well prepared for this moment, and had seeded the area with traps and ambushes to slow down his pursuers. But Hawkins was relentless, driving her team forward through every obstacle and challenge. In a final, desperate confrontation, they cornered Vaughn in his hidden base, a vast, crateral complex burrowed deep into the heart of a massive asteroid. There, amidst the twisted metal and flickering lights of the Zorthak's installation, the truth finally came out. Vaughn, it seemed, had not been working for the Zorthaks out of loyalty or ideology, but out of a twisted sense of self-preservation. He had discovered the Zorthaks' true intentions, to build a network of wormhole generators that would allow them to bring the bulk of their civilization to our galaxy, overwhelming humanity through sheer numbers. Vaughn had made a deal with Emperor Zorkos, offering to sabotage Earth's defenses in exchange for a place in the new Zorthax order. But as Hawkins and her team closed in, Vaughn's composure finally cracked. In a moment of desperation, he activated the base's self-destruct sequence, determined to take his pursuers with him into oblivion. In a race against time, Hawkins and her team fought their way out of the crumbling base, narrowly escaping as it collapsed in on itself, burying Vaughn and his secrets forever. But even as they caught their breath, the horrible realization sank in. The wormhole network was already active, the Zorthax reinforcements already on their way. The bulk of the alien armada would arrive in a matter of days, and when they did, they would bring with them a force that would dwarf anything humanity had faced before. The final battle was coming, and Earth's defenders would need every ounce of courage, determination, and ingenuity they could muster to have any hope of survival. The stage was set for a confrontation that would decide the fate of not just one world, but of the entire galaxy, and the future of the human race hung in the balance. With the Zorthax reinforcements mere days away, Admiral Hawkins knew that time was running out. Earth's defenses, though bolstered by rebel Zorthax technology and the grim determination of its people, could not hope to withstand the full might of the alien armada. In a desperate gamble, Hawkins devised a plan as audacious as it was risky. She would lead a small team, flying a captured Zorthax ship straight into the heart of the enemy fleet. Once there, they would send a signal to activate a hidden virus, planted by the rebels, that would disable the Zorthax ship's weapons and shields. It was a Trojan horse strategy, one that would require nerves of steel and a willingness to sacrifice everything for the greater good. Hawkins handpicked her team, choosing those she knew would not hesitate to lay down their lives for their planet. Among them was Zora, the rebel leader whose alliance had made this chance possible. Together, they would infiltrate the Zorthax command ship and confront Emperor Zorkos himself. As they made their preparations, Hawkins could feel the weight of the world on her shoulders. Every life on Earth, every hope for the future, depended on the success of this mission. Failure was not an option. The journey to the Zorthax fleet was a tense one, each moment stretched to an eternity by the knowledge of what lay ahead. As they approached the massive alien ships, Hawkins and her team held their breath, waiting for the moment of discovery. But the disguise held, and they were waved through the defensive perimeter, gliding silently into the belly of the beast. Once inside, they split up, each heading for their assigned target, ready to do what needed to be done. Hawkins and Zora made their way to the command deck, a vast, cavernous space dominated by the looming presence of Emperor Zorkos himself. The alien leader sat upon a throne of twisted metal, his eyes glinting with malice as he surveyed the readouts and displays before him. As they approached, Zorkos looked up, his expression twisting into a sneer of recognition. "Admiral Hawkins," he hissed, his voice dripping with contempt. "I should have known you would be foolish enough to come here." But Hawkins was not intimidated. She stood tall, her eyes locked with the Emperor's, her voice steady as she replied. "It ends here, Zorkos. Your fleet is about to be crippled, your invasion plans shattered. Surrender now, and we may yet find a path to peace." The Emperor laughed, a harsh, grating sound that echoed through the chamber. "Peace? With primitives like you? Never. You may have delayed the inevitable, but you cannot stop it. The Zorthax will triumph, and your pathetic species will be ground to dust beneath our heel." But even as he spoke, a chime sounded from the nearby control panel. Zorkos glanced down, his eyes widening in shock and fury as he saw the readouts. Across the fleet, Zorthax ships were going dark, their systems shutting down one by one as the rebel virus did its work. In that moment of distraction, Hawkins and Zora struck. They leaped forward, weapons drawn, closing the distance to the Emperor in a heartbeat. Zorkos roared in defiance, his own blade leaping to his hand as he met their charge. The battle was fierce and desperate, a whirlwind of flashing blades and snarling faces. Zorkaz was a formidable foe, his centuries of combat experience matched by a burning hatred that drove him to ever greater feats of savagery. But Hawkins and Zora were driven by something greater, a fierce determination to protect their people, to secure a future freed from the shadow of Zorthak's tyranny. They fought with a synchronicity born of shared purpose, their movements perfectly coordinated as they pressed the attack. In the end, it was Zora who struck the final blow. Seizing an opening, she lunged forward, her blade plunging into Zorko's chest, even as his own sword grazed her side. The Emperor staggered back, a look of disbelief on his face as he collapsed to the deck. Around them, the command ship shuddered as the rebel virus took hold, its systems failing one by one. Hawkins and Zora knew they had little time. They raced for the hangar bay, fighting their way through the collapsing corridors and panicked crew. They reached their ship just as the command vessel began to tear itself apart, explosions ripping through its hull as they blasted free. Behind them, the Zorthak's fleet drifted, helpless and crippled, as Earth's forces moved in to secure the victory. But even as they celebrated, Hawkins knew that the true challenge still lay ahead. With the Zorthaks defeated, humanity would need to find its place in a galaxy suddenly torn open to new possibilities and new dangers. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: Earth would face it united, with the courage and determination that had carried it through its darkest hour. As they set course for home, Hawkins looked out at the stars, a faint smile on her lips. They had won the day, but the journey was only beginning. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, a species united by the unbreakable bonds of shared struggle and sacrifice. The legacy of their defiance would echo through the ages, a beacon of hope and resilience for all the generations to come. The fall of Emperor Zorkoz and the crippling of the Zorthak's fleet had been a tremendous victory, but the war was far from over. As the remnants of the alien armada regrouped and licked their wounds, they turned their fury upon the world that had defied them. The Zorthaks descended upon Earth in a final desperate assault, determined to raze the planet to ashes before the human resistance could gather its strength. From the war-torn streets of shattered cities to the scorched and blackened fields of once verdant farmland, the battle raged, brutal and unrelenting. Admiral Hawkins and her allies threw everything they had into the fight, rallying Earth's defenders for one last stand. Rebel Zorthaks fought alongside human soldiers, their differences forgotten in the face of a common foe. Mighty warships clashed in the skies above, while on the ground, the infantry battled hand to hand, room by room, and street by street. But the Zorthaks were driven by desperation and a thirst for vengeance, and their fury was terrible to behold. They threw themselves into the fray with reckless abandon, heedless of their own losses, determined to drag humanity down with them into oblivion. As the casualties mounted and the situation grew increasingly grim, Hawkins knew that they needed a miracle. And so she turned to the one asset that had proven decisive time and again throughout the long and brutal conflict: the Zorthaks rebels. Under the leadership of Zora, the rebels had fought tirelessly alongside their human allies, their knowledge of Zorthak's tactics and technology proving invaluable. Now Hawkins called upon them for one final effort, a daring strike at the heart of the enemy force that could turn the tide of the battle. It was a risky gambit, one that would require the rebels to place themselves directly in harm's way. But Zora and her comrades did not hesitate. They knew that the fate of two species hung in the balance, and they were ready to make the ultimate sacrifice. As the rebel strike team fought their way through the ravaged streets, Hawkins and the remaining Earth forces launched a massive counterattack, pouring everything they had into a desperate bid to draw the Zorthaks' attention and buy the rebels the time they needed. The fighting was intense and brutal, a maelstrom of fire and blood and screaming metal. Hawkins was everywhere at once, rallying her troops, leading from the front, a beacon of defiance in the face of overwhelming odds. And then, just when all seemed lost, the rebel team broke through. They struck at the command center of the Zorthax ground forces, a massive fortified complex bristling with weaponry and teeming with the enemy's most fanatical warriors. The battle that followed was the stuff of legend, a furious, no-holds-barred struggle that raged for hours. Zora and her comrades fought like demons, their weapons blazing, their blood mingling with that of their foes as they pressed the attack. In the end, it was Kai, the enigmatic Zorthax defector, who made the difference. With a final, heroic effort, he broke through the enemy lines and struck at the heart of the command center, sacrificing himself to destroy the Zorthax leadership and throw their forces into disarray. As news of the rebel victory spread, a great cheer went up from the Earth forces. Seizing the moment, Hawkins led a final, all-out assault, driving the Zorthax back and shattering their remaining strength. The battle had been won, but the cost had been high. Earth lay in ruins, its cities smoldering, its people bloodied and battered. And yet, amidst the devastation, there was a spark of hope, a flicker of defiance that refused to be extinguished. For in the face of the greatest challenge they had ever known, humanity had shown the galaxy the true measure of their strength, not in their weapons or their technology, but in their indomitable spirit, their unwavering determination to fight for their survival and their way of life. And as the smoke of battle cleared and the wounded were tended to, Admiral Hawkins looked out over the ravaged landscape, a fierce pride burning in her heart. They had been tested as never before, but they had not been found wanting. They had looked into the abyss, and they had not blinked. The road ahead would be long and hard, the challenges many and daunting. But Hawkins knew that they would face them as they had faced everything else. Together, united by the bonds of shared sacrifice and unbreakable resolve, the Zorthax had sought to conquer them, to break their spirit and bend them to their will. But in the end, it was humanity who had emerged victorious, their legacy one of courage, resilience, and undying defiance in the face of the impossible. In the wake of the Zorthax defeat, a new era dawned for humanity and the galaxy at large. The once fractured nations of Earth, united by the crucible of war, now stood as one, ready to take their place among the stars. But the road to recovery was a long one. Earth had been ravaged by the conflict, its cities reduced to rubble, its population decimated. The task of rebuilding would require every ounce of resilience and determination that humanity could muster. Leading the charge was Admiral Jenna Hawkins, now hailed as a hero of the resistance and the savior of her people. But Hawkins knew that the true credit lay with the countless men and women who had fought and sacrificed alongside her, the soldiers and scientists, the rebels and refugees, all those who had never lost hope, even in the darkest of hours. Under Hawkins' guidance, the Earth Defense Alliance began the painstaking process of reconstruction, working tirelessly to restore the planet's shattered infrastructure and provide aid to the wounded and displaced. At the same time, they reached out to their allies among the stars, forging new bonds of friendship and cooperation with the races that had stood with them against the Zorthax. Chief among these were the rebel Zorthax themselves, led by Zora, who had proven herself a true friend and ally to humanity. Together, they worked to build a new galactic order, one based on mutual respect and understanding, rather than conquest and domination. As the months turned to years, Earth began to heal, its cities rising from the ashes, its people learning to live and laugh again. And with each passing day, humanity grew stronger, more confident, ready to face whatever challenges the future might bring. But even as they celebrated their hard-won peace, they never forgot the lessons of the past. The memory of the Zorthax invasion, of the sacrifices made and the lives lost, would forever be etched into the collective consciousness of humanity, a reminder of the depths of their resilience and the heights of their courage. And so, when the call came from the stars once more, when a new threat emerged from the depths of the unknown, humanity was ready. They had been tested in the fires of war and emerged stronger, more united than ever before. Under the banner of the newly formed Galactic Alliance, they stood shoulder to shoulder with their allies, ready to defend the peace they had fought so hard to achieve. And at the forefront of this new era of exploration and discovery stood Jenna Hawkins, the woman who had led her people through their darkest hour and into a brighter future. As she looked out across the stars, Hawkins knew that the road ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges to face, dangers to overcome, sacrifices to be made. But she also knew that humanity would face them as they always had, with courage, determination, and an unshakable belief in the power of unity and cooperation. For this was their legacy, the gift they would pass down to the generations to come. A galaxy where all races could live and thrive in peace, where the bonds of friendship and understanding could bridge even the vastest of distances. And as the first ships of the Galactic Alliance set out into the unknown, carrying with them the hopes and dreams of all humanity, Jenna Hawkins smiled, a sense of deep pride and profound humility washing over her. They had come so far, achieved so much, but she knew that their greatest adventures still lay ahead. For the spirit of defiance that had carried them through the darkest of times would always burn bright, a guiding light for all those who followed in their footsteps. And as long as that spirit endured, as long as humanity held fast to the values that had made them who they were, there was no challenge they could not overcome, no frontier they could not explore. This was their destiny, their calling, to stand tall in the face of the unknown, to reach for the stars with unwavering courage and unbreakable resolve. For they were humanity, the inheritors of a proud and noble legacy, and their story was only just beginning.